Welcome to the Ego versus EQ and You podcast, where we discuss the key aspects of emotional intelligence and ways to apply it in everyday living. Now let's work together to make common sense more common. Welcome back to the show. I'm Jen Shirkani, your host, and I am thrilled to have in studio today my co-host, Steve Friedlein.
Greetings.
Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Always fun to have you here.
It's good to be here.
And a topic that you and I have talked about for decades now, fair to say.
Absolutely.
In our Versus series, talking versus listening.
Oh, man, I could go so many directions.
I always think of social style.
I do too. And you know what? It's that contrast to me, talking versus listening. I have a friend that rarely has much to say. If I don't start the conversation, there's just a lot of dead air time. And it's not uncomfortable because I know that person pretty well. But I would think that there would be some challenges when they're first meeting other people because they don't put a lot of information out there. And then in contrast, I'm reflecting on someone that I spent time working with at one point in time that was very verbal, always had a lot to say about whatever the subject was. And we were working in the same office building at the time. And when this person would come into my office, I would always feel like I needed to check the time because it was never a short conversation. And they didn't necessarily pick up on clues of urgency. And I just have to say, I was always done with the conversation long before it ended and found myself thinking, I don't want to be rude. I don't want to be difficult. I really liked this person.
Yeah.
But there just wasn't a self-awareness.
Yes.
There wasn't
a social awareness, like reading the room, like not noticing.
Exactly. So my adaptation,
Yes.
I made it a point that if I needed something from that person, I would go to their office. So when I was done, I could depart in a timely manner.
You could get out of there
Yes.
as needed.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I think those are the contrasts that I think of in terms of talking and listening. And we all have a tendency toward one or the other.
A preference, I would agree.
Absolutely.
A tendency to go more to the one or the other side.
Right. Yes.
Although Steve and I were on a project, I can't believe it's been 20 years now.
Oh my gosh.
20 years ago. Major project where we were coaching over 100 salespeople in 50 states over a 1-year period. And we would go out and do what we called ride-alongs. So we would spend a day traveling. I think we're going to have to do a whole episode just on Tales from the Road because that...
You know what? I'm exhausted just hearing about it again because it was labor intensive.
Oh, very.
Yeah, and as I recall, we didn't have GPS when we did this project.
This was, 20 years ago. So
Dig out the roadmap.
Yeah. Riding along with a sales team at one organization.
Yes.
And our job was basically to help coach them to use a more consultative approach to sell. And so we would just go visit customers with them and sit and watch and observe and take notes and give them feedback. But I can't tell you in a 1-hour meeting how often I would sit and listen to a salesperson talk 95% of the hour meeting.
Yeah.
And I just kept wanting to stop them and say, take a breath, ask a question, let this customer tell you something about what's going on for them. But I think if you're in sales especially, it's so tempting to want to just tell them everything.
Well, and if you have multiple products that you're trying to sell, okay, and you're not finding out what the best solution is for that person, a lot of what you're saying is probably not a message that they're identifying with because you haven't focused your energy and what you have to say on what they need versus the fact that you want to sell it.
Yeah, that's what I think it comes across like.
Yes.
You know, I'm just going to tell you my pitch.
Right.
I'm just going to give you all the features and benefits of this thing and hope that that's enough to convince you.
Yeah.
But that's not how people respond.
Right. And, you know, how much time you spend talking, but we could go into the interviewing process as well. If I'm interviewing a candidate, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If I'm doing 80% of the talking, I'm really not learning much about the person that is seeking the position that I want to know if they're qualified to do it. So that 80-20 rule, I think, is what we talk about with respect to interviewing. And maybe in that selling situation, it wouldn't have been a bad thing to alter that percentage as well.
I agree. I think that is, again, whichever side of this you're more naturally inclined to, going to the other side.
Right.
So your example at the beginning where one person is really hard to pull information out of.
Right.
If they were to give more and do more talking.
Yes.
But the other person, the salesperson, maybe do some less talking.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Well, and I think it happens a lot of times, back to the sales thing. If I'm going in and I want to purchase something in a store, there are those salespeople that are so anxious to sell you something and a little add-on maybe that they don't give you time to think. And I think that's part of the balance of the listening versus talking. It's like sometimes I need to listen to my own thoughts a little bit. And if I have to listen to what you're saying and I can't hear myself, it's going to be more challenging.
I think, too, have you run into this where sometimes talking or listening is a stress response?
Oh, yeah.
You know, so if I'm nervous or I'm feeling pressured, I might talk more. Or if I'm stressed or nervous, I might actually kind of shut down.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And not talk at all.
Yes. I can think of acquaintances and colleagues that will stop talking if there's tension. And
that's not good either.
No,
right?
Exactly.
I can't have a conversation with you to get to the bottom of it.
Right, exactly. So we talk a lot about style.
I know.
Communication style. And I think this is...
The direct versus indirect?
Absolutely, yes. And we all have those natural tendencies. It doesn't mean we're locked in to one particular way of either listening or talking, but it's just more natural.
Yes.
For some of us. And honestly, for me, even though in this situation I'm doing a lot of talking, I tend to be more of a listener. And, there are times where I can sense that people want me to say something, but there's a lot of that processing that goes on internally. And then there are those people that if it's going on in their head, it's coming out of their mouth. Yeah. Kind of thing.
No filter.
So, yeah, exactly. Right? Exactly. So we want an appropriate filtration system.
Well, like all of EQ, recognize, read, and respond, it is understanding for the situation in front of me how much of the talking versus listening should I be doing right now. I was in a meeting one time at a client's office, and it was a group of maybe 6 people, and one of the people in the room was from human resources. And the meeting was relevant to everyone who was there, including HR, but I think for the hour meeting, the HR person did not say one word. Not one word. And I was sort of just watching because I was hoping she would jump in at various times when I thought it was like, oh, this would be a good time to say something. And so about halfway through the meeting, I started really noticing her lack. Now, she wasn't disengaged from the meeting. Right. It wasn't like she was distracted or not paying attention. She was paying attention. She was looking at everybody. She was taking notes, but did not add one thing to the meeting. And I felt really bad in a way because I thought, you know what? At some point, they're going to stop inviting her.
Yes. Yes.
She's not contributing.
And there's a message that's being sent if we don't talk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That then people are interpreting the silence.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
You're here at the meeting. I expected that you'd share something at some point, and it didn't happen.
Oh, my gosh. I was in a meeting one time with a client, and I will admit I was triggered. There was stuff going on in the meeting that I was having very strong opinions about, right?
I'm so surprised.
And, my tendency is more on the talking side. You're more on the listening side. Shocker to you. I'm on the talking side.
All of a sudden, this feels like therapy. But okay,
I know,
off you go.
Confessions. And so I was being ultra self-aware, right? I'm trying to use all my EQ in this meeting and just control my facial expressions, because that's my other giveaway is even if I'm not talking, you can sometimes tell what I'm thinking by my face. So I was trying extra hard to be really careful. And so I didn't say a lot. And when I did, I was very measured and I was very calm and I was very controlled. Anyway, after the meeting, one of the people in there who I'm very close with came back and said, well, I have feedback for you. I hope you're going to be okay with this. And I was like, I was so good, right? What could I have done? And he said, they thought you're really stuck up and judgy because you were just sitting there kind of watching them all and not really engaging in the meeting. And I'm like, oh, I overcorrected, obviously, right? I overdid my attempt to not reveal too much or take over. So it's a balance. It's a really hard balance sometimes.
That's so fascinating because I think, like I said, people interpret what we say. And even though, we've talked about this a little bit before, we have the best intention. But sometimes when we try to overcompensate too much, what we think is authentically us isn't necessarily perceived that way.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great example.
So again, this is why I think, EQ is so important in this, because ego is me just doing me kind of mindlessly, right? Either being too quiet or too loud.
Yes.
But EQ is, even though my preference might be one side or the other, am I reading this environment, reading the meeting, and appropriately responding and not overcorrecting or undercorrecting?
We all have an opportunity to adjust.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would
and
agree.
The fact is, I need to be able to adjust, because when I'm speaking with that person who has a tendency to not say much, I want to ask those open-ended questions to encourage them to speak more. Even though that's not typically what I would do, I will adjust my delivery and what I say and how I say it to match what I think will bring about a more engaging conversation. So I think obviously the opposite is true. If someone needs to listen, I'm going to try to come up with something that will keep them entertained and interested in what I have to say, to make sure that I don't lose them in the process of trying to communicate more effectively. Oh my gosh.
This could go on and on. Challenges of being human.
This could go on and on.
I know.
Right.
It could.
Yes.
Well, we're out of time, but
there we go.
I enjoyed talking and listening with you today, Steve.
Likewise. Absolutely.
Thanks for being here.
It's great to be here.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. And until next time, let us know if you have any questions or comments. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks. Thanks for joining us today on the Ego versus EQ and You podcast. If you liked this episode, be sure to follow us or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, and please share our show with others. For questions or future topic suggestions, please email us at podcast@jenshirkani.com. Until next time, keep using your EQ and show ego who's boss.